Estados Unidos ya tiene nuevo presidente, pero ¿cómo es Joe Biden? ¿Cuáles serán las principales líneas de su agenda política? ¿Generará cambios estructurales en los Estados Unidos? Y respecto a Kamala Harris, ¿cómo es su figura? ¿Es tan de izquierdas, como dice Donald Trump, y su entorno político más cercano? Vamos a intentar responder a todas estas preguntas. Comenzamos. Bienvenidos, bienvenidas a Mario Iranzo Politics. El pasado 3 de noviembre fueron las elecciones de Estados Unidos y finalmente Joe Biden se impuso con cierta claridad a Donald Trump. A pesar de las alegaciones y de los intentos de impugnación que ha estado llevando a cabo Donald Trump, el ya expresidente de los Estados Unidos, parece que finalmente se generará el cambio en la Casa Blanca. Pasará a gobernar Joe Biden. Y ante esto sería importante responder a ciertas preguntas que surgen. Las preguntas que hacíamos al inicio: ¿cómo es Joe Biden? ¿Cuáles serán sus principales líneas de su agenda política? Para responder a todas estas preguntas y para, digamos, conocer un poquito más la figura de Joe Biden, hasta ahora quizá un tanto desconocida en España, hemos hecho dos entrevistas. Hemos ido de un extremo a otro de los Estados Unidos para entrevistar a dos profesores de universidad que nos pueden responder a estas preguntas. En la costa este hemos hablado con el profesor David Simon de la Universidad de Yale en el estado de Connecticut, que es profesor de ciencias políticas y director de estudios de grado. Además, ha sido consultor en diversas agencias de Naciones Unidas como UNDP, UNITAR y el Proyecto de Desarrollo del Milenio, entre muchos otros. Y por el otro lado, en la costa oeste, hemos hablado con el profesor del Dickson de San Diego, del estado de California, que es profesor de Ciencias Políticas y Relaciones Internacionales, además de haber escrito varios libros, entre los cuales se encuentra The Supreme Court in Conference, que ganó el premio al mejor libro de Ciencias Políticas en 2001, otorgado por la Association of American Publishers. Y ahora sí, nos ponemos el mono de trabajo, nos vestimos de entrevistadores y viajamos de la costa este a la costa oeste para conocer en profundidad a Joe Biden. Dickson, Professor of Political Science and International Relations of the University of San Diego and writer of various books about politics, law, democracy. David Simon, Professor of Political Science and Director of Undergraduate Studies of the University of Yale. Last November 3rd, Joe Biden won the election, but Trump wants to challenge the result. Some judges have already rejected his arguments. Do you think that those arguments have some legal basis?
I mean, some of the arguments themselves may have had, technically speaking, a legal basis in that they were, some of them may have been valid complaints. I mean, there were over 30 of them that were filed. And I think, well, last I checked, of the 33 that had been filed, 31 had been ruled against his legal team's favor. So I think one of the issues that is going on is that although there may be some legal merit, they don't affect the outcome of the election. And judges may be saying that it's a waste of time, it's a stalling tactic, it's as much politics as it is sort of a legal effort.
There's a strain of thought in American politics that government should be run like a business, and this is one of the bad side effects of this. If you're in business, you do whatever you can to win. In democracy, when you lose an election, you admit that you lost, you congratulate the winner, and you go away until the next election.
And do you think this defeat will be the end of Donald Trump's political career?
No. He shows every intention of staying on the scene. My best guess is what he really wants is a media empire. He wants a microphone. Twitter has been his microphone for the last 4 years. He would love to be on television all the time. He would love to be on radio all the time. His chief role model at this point is Rush Limbaugh, who has a right-wing media empire. That is what Donald Trump will try to do.
And now moving on, Joe Biden. I will try to know more about his political agenda, because here in Spain, we know quite a lot about Donald Trump, but not much about Biden. So my goal here is trying to compare Biden proposals with Trump actions to know how different they are. So
Yep.
for example, starting with the economy, Biden said that he will raise the corporate tax and the minimum wage for the workers. Is it a big difference from what Trump did?
It's a pretty big difference in that the Trump's signature tax policy was a tax cut for the wealthy and for corporations, and Biden's signature tax policy will be to raise taxes on the very wealthy.
You probably know, and your audience probably knows, Joe Biden is not exactly a radical leftist. He's a moderate Democrat. He comes squarely from the middle of the road. And this is standard Democratic policy. Corporations ought to pay their fair share and should not be able to shelter their income abroad. I expect him to at least try to raise the corporate rates, make sure that he closes some of the loopholes that have allowed companies to push their assets offshore and avoid taxes.
And about foreign policy, one of the big conflicts is the trade war with China. Do you think Biden will achieve a better trade relationship with the country, with China?
I think in general, yes, that Biden believes in free trade as a sort of principle more than Trump does. I don't know about specifically with respect to China, because there's so many other areas of political rivalry with China at the moment that I don't think, there are some politicians whose views on China is that it is number one, a trading partner, and then there's no number two. It's only trading, so only trade policy matters. Some of those are for restricting trade with China, others are for opening trade with China. But I think for Biden, there are more issues that matter with China, including sort of military expansion, human rights issues, et cetera.
Yeah, now that is more complicated. Most of the other alliances, most of Biden's foreign policy is pretty clear, and it's going to be much more positive in terms of our European allies than Trump's was, much more multilateral than Trump's was. China, though, is different. Our relationship with China is complicated. China bounces back and forth between being a potential ally, an adversary, or an enemy. And on any day, you don't know exactly what it's going to be.
And what about the relationship with the Middle East governments? Because it's been damaged.
Yeah, that's an excellent question, because Trump had very good relations with Israel and Saudi Arabia, very bad relations with Iran. And remained involved in Iraq. It's harder for me to read at this point. I think that on one issue in particular, Trump was very accommodating of the Netanyahu government in Israel's efforts to expand into the West Bank, the Palestinian lands with Jewish settlements. I think Biden is far less supportive of that idea, and I don't know if he would be able to stop Netanyahu from trying to do that, but he would not give his support to those sorts of measures.
What I expect to see is that the American relationship with Saudi Arabia will not be quite as warm as it was with the Trump administration. The relationship with the Netanyahu administration in Israel is definitely not going to be as warm, although Joe Biden and Benjamin Netanyahu have a close personal relationship. So I don't expect it to be what it was during the Obama years, where Netanyahu and Obama basically hated each other. The real key for me is going to be Iran. Joe Biden has said he would like to go back into the nuclear accord if the Iranian government will demonstrably give up its advances that it's made in its nuclear technology over the last 4 years. Again, this was a disastrous choice by the Trump administration to withdraw from this treaty in all respects. Biden is going to try to reset that clock, and we'll see if that treaty can be restored, and we can go forward again in a multilateral way rather than a unilateral way. I think that's probably potentially the best news about American policy toward the Middle East.
So, what can we expect about Biden's climate change policy? Because before elections, Trump decided to exit the Paris Agreement.
Yeah, it will be one of Biden's first priorities. This is something that he can do, not unilaterally, but he can certainly, he already has declared America's intention to return to the Paris Accords. Of course, because we are now out of the Paris Accords officially, it's up to the other signatory countries whether they want us back. But Biden is committed to the war against climate change. He wants to be carbon neutral. He wants to get back into the Paris Accords. And I anticipate that the signatories of the Paris Accords will welcome America back.
There are a lot of topics. If we mention all of them, in the interview we will be hours and hours talking about them. But concluding or trying to summarize, do you think Biden's government will make structural changes in the US?
Structural changes in the US, absolutely. Again, one of the things he wants to do is tax policies. One of the things that he wants to do is have a focused national conversation about race and about racial equity. I expect that to happen soon. He will consciously have a diverse cabinet as a signal of his serious intentions. This is the Democratic coalition. So I expect to have honest and at times awkward conversations about race in this country, about class in this country. And it may not be a happy conversation all the time, but it's a conversation we need to have. The Trump administration wanted no part of it, but it's overdue. And so in the short run, I expect this to be uncomfortable, but in the medium and the long term, it's something that we have to do. It's kind of medicine. It may not taste great going down, but it's something that is required to go forward and be a healthier country in the long run. So yeah, I expect changes that way. Other structural changes, what Biden really has to do is restore the structures and institutions of American politics that have just been damaged by the Trump administration politicizing everything. So I expect protections for the civil service to be reinstalled, more respect for the rule of law. I expect things to get back to normal and repairing the damage that's been done before you move on.
Yeah, I think the changes will be perceptible. I think it'll be more of a restoration of sort of the institutions and the policies and the norms of behavior that persisted under Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama, which I think, in many ways, Trump deviated from those. So rather than, I think, creating new structures or norms or institutions, it'll be more of a reversion to what the world was used to before Trump got there.
Mm-hmm. And the figure of Kamala Harris has become more and more relevant. Is she that left-winger, as Trump says?
I don't think so. During the primaries, she was accused of being too moderate. Just anecdotally, all my left-wing friends, my most left-wing friends, really despised Kamala Harris because they saw her as a former prosecutor who was not aligned with their agenda. She's in no way a sort of radical socialist or anything like that.
Harris is a prosecutor by career. She is an establishment figure. In California politics, she is dead center of the road. Kamala Harris he could not have picked a better vice president for a centrist administration. but having conversations with everybody from left to right. Kamala Harris gets along well with her Republican Senate colleagues. You might have seen when she went back for the previous session of the Senate last week, Republican senators were giving her fist bumps on the floor of the Senate. She is a great ambassador for the for the Biden administration on Capitol Hill. I hope that President Biden uses her internationally to get her out on the world stage, because the world is going to love Kamala Harris. She is warm, she's funny, she is accessible. She is going to be the MVP of the Biden administration, I think. She is anything but a crazy left-winger, and it's hilarious that anybody would think otherwise.
And do you think she will be the next president of the United States?
She certainly, the horse race for the next 4 years has already begun, right? Everybody is lining up to run in 4 years to see who's going to be the next president. I don't know that she will be the next president, but she certainly has the inside lane at this point. And again, if President Biden uses her the way that I think that he might, her advantages are going to be greater and greater over the next 4 years. Now, if she's treated like an ordinary vice president and just shunted off to the side to be trotted out for funerals, then she maybe not. But she's going to be a partner. And she is going to have, at least for the Democratic nomination, a huge advantage in 4 years to be the Democratic nominee. Whether she can parlay that to be the next president, it depends on how the country goes in the next 4 years. If the wheels don't come off the wagon, if the economy doesn't fall apart, if we get a vaccine for COVID-19, if things are good in this country in 4 years, yes, she will be the next president. If things don't go well, a crisis happens that the United States doesn't weather well, if in 4 years people say we aren't better off now than we were in 2020, then it's going to be difficult. But I guess to answer your question directly, she has the inside lane. If I were to bet $100 on the next president, I would bet on Kamala Harris.
If we would have a scale from 1 to 10, in which 1 is far left and 10 far right, where would you locate Joe Biden?
Oh, I'd probably call him 4, just a little bit left of center.
Mm-hmm. And Kamala Harris?
3.7, just a little bit left of Biden, maybe 3.5.
Okay. Bernie Sanders?
We could put him at a 2.
Yeah. And Donald Trump?
And Donald Trump, generally I'd put him at an 8. Only, and it would be higher on the towards the right wing extreme. Except there are certain issues.
Where would you locate Joe Biden?
Joe Biden is squarely 5. He is the center of the road on any objective scale.
And Kamala Harris?
Kamala Harris is probably 2 steps to the left or a step and a half, so I would put her maybe at a 3.5.
Bernie Sanders?
Bernie Sanders is probably a 1 for the United States.
Okay. And Donald Trump?
Donald Trump is tough because he's a New Yorker. And personally, I would probably put him as a 7. But he runs now as a 10. That is his coalition. That's the base that he plays to. So he is so far to the right now. He's over the horizon. You can't even see him. If you turn the amp up to 11, that's where he would be. But I think that's Trump the politician, Trump the demagogue. Trump the individual is a little bit less right-wing than the character he plays on TV.
Okay. And do you think that Bernie Sanders is too in the left for the United States? So it's yeah.
Yes. For Vermont, he is right where they want him, I think. He's a popular politician in Vermont. It does not translate well to the United States as a whole. If Bernie Sanders had been the candidate for president this year, he would have been lucky to win 3 states in the country. He doesn't have the appeal, and it's too easy. I mean, Bernie Sanders is a man of good intentions. He believes in income equality. He would like to close the income gap in the United States, which absolutely has to be closed. It's one of our top problems. But he's too easy to paint not just as a left-winger, but a crazy left-winger. And he isn't. But as you know, in politics, perceptions matter. And that's the perception. He's not Tio Bernie. He's not Uncle Bernie. He's crazy Uncle Bernie. And I don't think that that's true, but that's the way America sees him.
And now concluding, I didn't really know how to ask you this question because it's a really sensitive subject, but anyway, I have to do it. In Spain, a video of Joe Biden having inappropriate behaviors with children became viral. It was all day long on Twitter, on social media. Has this video had that impact there in the US?
It has been around, and as you know, it's doctored, it's been touched up. It is something done by political enemies to make him look like something that he isn't. So it hasn't gone viral in the United States the way maybe apparently it has in Europe, where you don't know Joe Biden as well and you don't know that this is just nonsense, but it's nonsense. Joe Biden, to put back another way, is a hugger. He's a traditional politician. He craves human contact. You can put together a cut tape of him touching women. You can put together a tape of him touching men. You can put a tape together of him touching dogs. You can put a tape together of him touching children so that it looks inappropriate, but trust me, it isn't.
So it's a manipulation.
It's a manipulation, pure and simple.
It sounds to me like it's a doctored video, that it doesn't represent anything that happened. I know that there are certain conspiracy theory sites in the US, like QAnon, that try to distribute these videos, but they're not sort of, I mean, they have a serious impact in the US, but they're not taken seriously by the mainstream.
I've been talking with another professor of the US from the University of San Diego. He told me that it was a manipulation from the oppositional media that wanted to damage his image. Right. So I just wanted to know, what do you think about this video? Because in Spain, there's a really feeling that this is his way of treating children, and
yeah,
it's important to.
Yeah, that is what Trump would have called fake news.
Yeah.
Except, actually, it's literally a faked video, is what it sounds like to me.
Okay, so for me, it's David Simon, professor of political science and director of undergraduate studies at the University of Yale. Thank you very much for accepting the interview and for letting me know more about politics.
My pleasure, and thanks for the invitation. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Del Dickson, for me, is enough. It's good. It's been a pleasure talking with you and knowing more about Joe Biden, because as I told you, here in Spain, it's like a unknown figure. We have been listening a lot about Donald Trump, but not about Joe Biden. So it's been a pleasure talking with you.
Be reassured about President Biden. The United States is going to become a much better partner to Europe than we have been for the last 4 years. I think it's all good news. Mario, thank you so much. It was so wonderful to talk to you. Good luck. Maybe you're going to be the Spanish ambassador to the United States and drop by and see me in California.
Okay, I don't think so, but okay.
Maybe not. But you have a future ahead of you, so thank you.
Thank you very much, Del. It's a pleasure. Bye.
Bye, Mario. Bye.
Una vez analizadas las entrevistas y conocida la visión de los expertos, creo que ya podemos pasar a responder a las preguntas que planteábamos al inicio del vídeo. En primer lugar, ¿cómo es Joe Biden? ¿Cuál será su agenda política? Pues creo que ha quedado bastante claro que es un candidato de centro, un candidato muy moderado, un candidato que quizá en lo económico tiende un tanto hacia la izquierda, hacia el intento de repartir la riqueza en lugar de beneficiar a los más ricos. En política exterior parece que va a ser mucho más moderado, parece que no va a tender a esa confrontación como lo hacía Donald Trump, parece que en cuanto al cambio climático tiene cierta sensibilidad, tiene un cierto compromiso por luchar contra él, volver a los acuerdos de París de los que se salió unilateralmente Estados Unidos bajo el gobierno de Donald Trump. Parece que sería una buena noticia y que está en la mente de Joe Biden abordar el tema racial, el tema de la desigualdad y del racismo estructural que existe en Estados Unidos, pero digamos que no va a generar unos cambios estructurales gigantes. Esta era una de las cuestiones que planteábamos también al inicio del vídeo, y creo que es bastante evidente que Joe Biden no va a ser un candidato revolucionario, no va a revolucionar los Estados Unidos, no va a cambiarlos y no va a poner todo patas arriba. De hecho, quien lo hizo fue Donald Trump, por el otro lado, por el lado de la derecha y por el lado un poco del caos. Parece que Joe Biden, en lugar de ser ese candidato revolucionario, lo que va a hacer es ser un tanto contrarreformista. Va a volver a lo que era Estados Unidos antes de que pasara por ella Donald Trump, antes de que Donald Trump pusiera los pies en la Casa Blanca y empezara a gobernar. Parece que Estados Unidos había tomado una deriva un poco caótica, quizá un tanto politizada, politizando ciertas instituciones que no lo deberían estar, y parece que Joe Biden será el encargado de retomar a Estados Unidos a la senda. Pero ¿va a hacer cambios estructurales? Yo creo que la respuesta es evidente y es no. Va a devolver a Estados Unidos las estructuras que ya tenía y las estructuras que fueron un poco tambaleadas por el gobierno de Donald Trump. Y en cuanto a Kamala Harris, una figura que se ha puesto completamente en el centro del debate, en el foco, y sobre la que se quiere saber más, pues parece evidente que podríamos decir algo similar a Joe Biden. No es una candidata radical de izquierdas, ni mucho menos. Es una figura completamente del establishment, muy centrada, muy moderada, una exfiscal que parece que tampoco pretende hacer ningún cambio radical en los Estados Unidos. Preguntábamos también, a ver si nos podían adelantar cuál es la visión de allí, si será la próxima presidenta de los Estados Unidos, y parece que va en cabeza por esa lucha, pero quedan 4 años, queda mucho por saber de cuál será el futuro de los Estados Unidos, y creo que anticipar eso sería quizá aventurarse demasiado. Así que, respondiendo a las preguntas fundamentales, Joe Biden es un candidato centrista, moderado, que no va a hacer cambios estructurales en los Estados Unidos, y Kamala Harris, pues más o menos lo mismo. Es una vicepresidenta que parece que va a tener más protagonismo de lo que acostumbran a tener los vicepresidentes y vicepresidentas de los Estados Unidos. Hasta ahora había sido una figura prácticamente de cerámica que no hacía absolutamente nada, un jarrón político, pero parece que Kamala Harris sí que va a tener un tanto de protagonismo, parece que puede ser una vicepresidenta que tenga cierta importancia. Así que veremos cuáles son las líneas de gobierno que adoptan Joe Biden, Kamala Harris y toda la administración Biden, y veremos cuál es el futuro de los Estados Unidos. Y hasta aquí el vídeo, hasta aquí el análisis, hasta aquí las entrevistas, y como suelo decir, os invito a que dejéis un like si os ha gustado el vídeo, que os suscribáis, y si creéis que tenéis algo que aportar en los comentarios, pues que lo dejéis sin ningún tipo de pudor, y si es alguna duda yo intentaré responderlas, y si es algún tipo de comentario que pueda enriquecer el vídeo siempre será bienvenido. Así que, como digo, muchas gracias por ver el vídeo, muchas gracias por estar ahí, y nada, hasta la próxima.